Ottawa's housing market in 2025 is throwing out mixed signals from left to right. Some say it's the perfect time to buy. Others say you would be absolutely crazy to jump in right now. Before you make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, you must watch this. You will thank yourself later. Argument number one, high and rising prices. Why you shouldn't buy? Well, the average sale price in Ottawa in June of 2025 stood at $723,152, up about 5.2% year over year. That's steep, making its entry extremely difficult for many buyers. Even benchmark prices are climbing. Overall price $634,300. This is up 1.6%. And single family homes are benchmarked at $707,600. But on the other side of the coin, why you might still buy? Well, compared to cities like Vancouver or Toronto, where the average price exceeds 1.1 all the way up to 1.3 million, Ottawa remains still significantly more affordable. For many, paying $700,000 or $720,000 in Ottawa is still a better value and provides greater financial access versus those pricier markets like Vancouver or Toronto. And think about it. If you don't own, you're into renting. And in that case, your rental money simply goes to the landlord and you're not building any equity over time. So something to consider if you're in a position to get into the market. Argument number two, economic uncertainty and cooling market. Why you shouldn't buy? Well, Canada's housing market is expected to cool in 2025. Particularly in Ontario, with potential prices dropping around 2% due to uncertain economic conditions and slower demand. TD economists predict seeing price growth slowing in Ontario's second quarter of 2025. However, while you might still consider buying, Ottawa prices have already stabilized. Waiting for the crash may cost you more later. If we take a look at this graph right here, we're seeing back from July 2025 all the way where prices were going all the way up. And then you'll see this is our COVID market, what we call from kind of May 2021 right through to July 2022. But if you see the prices here, like that's stabilized from the graph perspective, that suggests that it's probably not a bad time to get in. Like what happens if something else happens, like another, God forbid, natural disaster, then price might spike again, and then you're going to be playing defense once again. So something to consider that the prices have stabilized based upon what we're seeing historically in the Ottawa market. As a benchmark, and average prices continue to gently upward trajectory. So you are seeing in this graph here, they are slowly starting to go up, but it's more of a level playing field. Difference when we look back in July of 2015 and as they shot up to 2021, that's that sort of hockey stick growth that we see, but not a bad time to consider as it's leveled out on that side. A third argument to consider, mortgage cost pressures. Why you shouldn't buy. Although rates have dipped somewhat, mortgage costs remain elevated. Experts warn that even with cuts, affordability likely won't return for years. Plus, Canada's mortgage renewal model committing homeowners to variable or renewed fixed rates every few years, meaning many buyers face a steep payment hike in the near future. If we think back of those COVID days, sort of like 2020 to 2022, a lot of people were locking into fixed rate mortgages and then the rates skyrocketed. Those rates are going to be coming up for renewal very soon in that kind of end of 2025, right into 2026. This is going to be a massive sticker shock to those that were locked in at say 1.3%, 1.45 to get into now a fixed rate where we're hovering around 3.89 right up to 4.15. That's almost 3 times more that they're going to be paying. Big shock that they have to be ready for. Why you might consider buying though, the recent rate cuts. Ottawa's 3-year fixed rate is at 3.99%, making today's borrowing still better than this time last year when the average was up around 5%. So rates are coming down, which is better if you were considering buying last year. Now is actually a better time to buy because you're getting rates at 2% cheaper. Our fourth and final argument to consider would be the upcoming supply and construction trends. Why you shouldn't buy? Well, CMHC projects fewer housing starts in 2025 though growth is expected to pick up in 2026. But supply still remains a challenge in this market. There's just not enough inventory for buyers to buy. So what that does is it creates upward trend on price. It's simple, basic economic supply and demand. There's a lack of supply in the market, too much demand, which drive prices up. I'll give you a live example. We just had a listing in Little Italy, just off Preston Street. Beautiful property, listed at $849,900 on Oak Street, right near Plant Bath. This property was well priced. It was an estate sale, vacant property. Certainly needed some work inside to be updated. Based upon our CMA, our comparative market analysis, we felt $849,900 was the perfect price point based upon recent sales. We were floored with the activity. We had 17 showings booked within the first 24 hours. We ended up having 3 offers, and the property sold well above list price. Should it have sold above list price? Well, obviously the market dictates the price, but it was a prime example for me as a listing agent and the market in general that there's just simply a lack of property on the market, just no great options for buyers at that time in that particular area, which drove the price up. Now, on the other side of the coin, why you might still consider buying in this market is Ottawa has a proactive development underway around LeBreton Flats. It's a really neat opportunity. And with all of the discussion with the Ottawa centers potentially moving down to that area, we will see massive growth in that Little Italy, Preston Street pocket, LeBreton Flats, as that becomes the new hot pocket of Ottawa. There still are really good deals in there right now. There are also other areas within Ottawa that you can find some really attractive, affordable properties. And I'll give you an example in the Glabar Park area. So like Maitland and Carling Avenue area. There's some really nice bungalows in there, built in sort of like that late 60s, right up to mid 80s, where the properties are just kind of sitting. Not that there's anything wrong with the property, it's just the price just isn't in parallel with the present market. We did a deal recently where this buyer picked up a beautiful bungalow, 3-bedroom, finished basement for just over $700,000. A few years ago, that property would have sold above $800,000 during the COVID days. So there are deals to be had. It's just you have to be patient and make sure you're hunting in the right pockets. So to wrap up, don't buy if you're worried about elevated prices, uncertain economic situation, mortgage rate cost, constraints on supply, or policy turbulence. But you may consider buying if you can appreciate Ottawa's comparable affordability to, say, Toronto or Vancouver. Recent price stabilization since COVID, improved infrastructure with the LRT getting rolled out as we speak, and long-term growth outlook. Ultimately, Ottawa's real estate market in 2025 remains a complicated market, with both caution flags and strong reasons to take action. Whether to buy depends on your readiness, financial resilience, and long-term goals. If you're planning to stay for years and rates stay reasonable, buying now could make complete sense. But if you're highly risk adverse or leaning towards max flexibility, waiting may not hurt as well, though it could cost you more in the end. If you're a first-time home buyer, the next video will guide you on how to buy a home in a smart way. Check it out right here.